Alright, in this video I'll discuss footprinting. Before a hacker attacks a website, he first gathers as much information about the website and the server, as much information as possible, so he or she could create the best attack, or basically find as much information so we could find the most vulnerable points of the website or server. And the first step in footprinting is getting the website's IP address. Now there's a link in the handbook that points to selfseo.com, and there's actually many ways to get your website's IP address. And now if I put in learn how to hack.net and get IP, it'll automatically point out its IP. Now there's many ways to get an IP address. Another way you can do is just open your command prompt or terminal, whichever it is you're using, and you can ping a website. This will return a packet if the server is online. So this basically tells you A, the IP address of the website, and B, if the server is online. In this case it is, because it has a reply, and 100% received and 0% loss. Now sometimes a website seems down for you, but it really isn't. Now there's a certain service online called justping.com. Basically what this website does is you enter a website or IP address of that website, and it'll ping that website from I think it says here 30 something areas in the world, and it'll tell you if the website is online. So maybe a website is down for you for some reason, but it really isn't, and this will basically tell you, because it pings it from multiple areas in the world and lets you know if it had a response from the server. As you can see, my website is up. Alright, the next thing a hacker would do is do a who is lookup for the certain website he's targeting. Now a who is lookup, if you follow the link in the handbook, will bring you to domaintools.com. They have a wide variety of tools that give up a lot of information on a website, but you might need to upgrade your account for all the big services that they offer. So if you go to the domain tools, follow the link, and enter in a website, you should get the whois record for that certain website. In my case, learn how to hack.net. So now if you go down, it tells you the meta description, keywords, just basic information about it, and then it gets into the other things like the name server, and it gives up the name server for that website, which is namecheap.com, its IP address, the IP location, the NS history, the IP into the registrar history. Basically it's at one registrar. NS history, 5 changes on 5 unique servers. IP history, 6 changes on 4 unique servers. And reverse IP, which basically how many other websites are hosted on the server. Now this is very important because if a hacker can't find a way in from that actual website, he could possibly look at some of the other websites hosted on the same server and find a vulnerability in one of those other websites, which could lead him to root on the server and access to the other website that he's actually targeting. Now you can get more information on all these services, but it requires you to basically upgrade your account type to gold or something like that. And if you can find all these other services somewhere else on the internet, but if you want them all in one place, I would say it's worth it to upgrade your account. Now for the actual whois record, this gives up the email of the person that owns the website, his address, his name, contact information, unless like me they have a whois guard, which basically protects your information by replacing it with the companies that hosts your website or such. Like in this case, they replace it with some other information which is not mine. So basically this can help to a point, but there's still other ways to get this type of information. So as you can see, there's a lot of information at a hacker's fingertips if he's willing to look for it. Now, on the reverse IP, the most important, one of the most important information that you can get. You don't have to pay for it. You can actually go to a website called yougetsignal.com and go to the tools area and go to reverse IP domain check. Now, if you enter a domain, let's say google.com, and check it, it'll find all the other websites that are hosted on the same domain. As you can see, there's 469 domains found hosted on the same web server as google.com and its IP address. Google.com, books.google, as google.no, groups.google, a bunch of weird names, some I've never heard before, dejanews.com. Basically, it links you to all the other websites hosted on the same server. So if a hacker can't find a way in through your main website, the one he's targeting, he could possibly find a workaround, a way through a different website on the server to target yours. So as you can see, there's a lot of information available to a hacker if he's willing to look for it. Hackers could also take advantage of Google's features, search features, to search a website. There's many times, well, what Google does is it sends out the spiders to scan your full website and creates a pretty much a site map of your website. And sometimes there's information on there that you don't want to be out, and some of that information can be hidden from the Google spiders via the robot.txt file, or it could still just be out there. So if you go to google.com, you could use some of its built-in search functions like site and the website. Let's do Costco.com, and this will pretty much give you all the links that are indexed on Costco.com. And you can actually search the website by adding another argument to this. Let's say robots. And as you can see, you're searching on the website. So this websites often leave important or information that shouldn't be out to the public on their servers, and sometimes it's indexed by Google, and you can possibly find passwords, configuration files, PDFs of information that shouldn't be out there. And I could show you many examples of this, but there's so many, and you can easily find it with a Google search. Some very great examples. Now, another thing websites have are, like I mentioned before, is the robots.txt file. These are basically places on the web server that that website doesn't want Google to index. So occasionally there will be locations to important or confidential files that the website doesn't want out, and by simple robots.txt search, you could locate these and access them. And you can do a simple search like in URL robots.txt. What this does is it looks in the URL of websites for the string robots.txt, and a quick search comes up with a bunch of robot.txt files. For example, the whitehouse.gov looks like they don't want you to view the OMB search directories in the search directory and the inclusive directory. Basically, this tells the Google spider and all the other spiders to avoid these directories. And basically, many websites add directories that contain a lot of important information, like in configuration files, like I mentioned before. So it's always good to look out for these type of things, as they could release a bunch of information that shouldn't be out there, and which is a bad way to hide it. And if I were to stick with the Costco example, if I were to go to costco.com/robots.txt, as you can see, there's a bunch of files and directories that they don't want Google or other search engines to index, including some configuration files, some pharmacy directories, a bunch of things.